Peace and blessings, everyone. Welcome back to the Humble Servant Homestead, guys. Today I am out here in the garden. Now it just got through raining. I told my wife, I said, no later than today, I have to get the rest of these sweet potato slips here in the garden, guys. And as y'all can see, since we take them from, since we take them from out of the house and put them outside where they can get that natural sun, they have been striving, guys. Okay, I'm going to put these down because the dirt and the potatoes and the slips, they're a little bit heavy. Not that I cannot manage, but hey, I like to talk a little bit with my hands as well. So last year I told you all I was going to go ahead and plant my sweet potatoes a little bit different this year. Okay, now I have some planted here inside of the garden already. They've been in right at about 2.5 weeks to about 3 weeks. And so we're going to come on in today and give that demonstration on how we're going to plant these sweet potatoes. Now, what I did on this side of the bed and what I would want to do, but it's not a great issue. I would come on in and cultivate the ground, okay? And so once I cultivate that ground, what I will simply do here, guys, is all that straw and a little bit of goat poo from out of the goat pen, okay, is what I'm going to be putting down inside of the bed here, okay? And so the great thing about it is with the goat manure, have a little bit of nitrogen that you'll get a slow release on these potatoes here. Not a whole lot, okay? Now, I know some of you all may be out there and you say, hey, isn't it a little bit too late to plant sweet potatoes? Not really, okay? Your potatoes need right at about 90 days to 120 days. Now we have these sweet Korean sweet potatoes that we will be planting as well that I would love to let go a little bit longer. So I will let them go right until it's till close to our last frost date, okay? And so that way they can stay in the ground a little bit longer so they can mature a little bit more, okay? So before I go ahead and start planting, of course, sweet potatoes, they love a lot of potassium, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and grab my pot ash, sprinkle on out inside of this bed, and we'll get into the next step.
And also to give them just an idea of time frame, today is June 14th,
14th,
and
yes.
our first frost date is predicted to be around November 2nd. So
Yes, and also keep in mind, because I know this probably will be a question that asks, what grow zone are you all in? We are in grow zone 8A, all right? And so let me grab some ash and we'll get to plant. Okay, and so here is the pot ash that I will be using. Now, this pot ash is just from trees that I cut down from round back, and we save it to use in the garden, all right? So what we're going to do, we're just going to give a little bit of sprinkle on these beds here. And also, guys, remember, when you're planting potatoes, potatoes don't need a whole bunch of nitrogen, okay? You want to keep that in mind. If you put a whole bunch of nitrogen inside of these potatoes, you're going to end up with a whole bunch of foliage and no roots, okay? And I'm pretty sure you plant your potatoes to get some food underneath that soil. All right, so what we're going to go ahead and do now is pretty much go ahead and get all this hay or straw and also a little bit of goat manure in here. And the beauty about it is, as well, with all this straw and hay and goat manure, you're also bringing in some biomass inside of this area right here, guys. And that is the beauty, because what's going to happen over the years as this hay break down inside of this bed, it's going to bring life into your soil. So that is the beauty. And so this is the other way that I was talking about, pretty much building my sweet potato bed. Okay, so I'm not going to be making rows like I did in previous years. Okay, so we're just spreading that out, and we're going to spread it out we're going to lay it down real thick. Okay, because what's going to happen as time goes on, this hay is going to break down, guys. And you will see once we come back on in to harvest the potatoes that it's going to be a whole lot different. Okay, so even, and come on in real quick, look at that. It's already life inside of this hay right here. So you know what that's going to do? As they feed on the goat manure and the straw in here, that right there is going to bring worm casting and, hey, microbes. Okay, they're going to love it. All right, and keep in mind the microbes and all that different kind of stuff, that is what pretty much feed your plants. Okay, and like I said, I did want to go ahead and cultivate this before I start planting, but it's not a big issue, because this soil is not, it's sandy loam soil, and it's pretty loose. And so once I even put this straw on top of it, it's going to keep the soil moist, and those worms that I showed you, they will come on in here and aerate the dirt. So it should work out just fine, guys. Okay, and so what we're going to be doing now, we're going to be plucking a few of these sweet potato slip, and look how beautiful those slips are. Plus we already have real nice root system here on those slips. All right, so I'm going to just be picking out all the longer slips here. Wow, look at that. Beautiful. And so once I get ready to plant these slips as well, what I will be doing is I will be planting these slips right here, right at about, say probably right at about 5 inches deep. Okay, right at about 5 inches deep. Got me a little handful of slips right there. So we're going to get on in here. And what I'm going to be doing, I will be planting these slips right here 1 foot apart. Okay? Yes, 1 foot apart. All right. So just loosening that soil and drop that slip in. Like I said, right at about 5 inches, 6 inches. If your slips are longer, that's totally fine. Okay? Depends on how deep you want to go with it. That's totally fine. I'm just going to backfill that back with some soil. And
sweet potatoes don't grow deep down like regular potatoes, right?
Well, the thing about it with these sweet potatoes here, you do want to give them enough dirt. That's why most of the time you will mound your sweet potatoes, because once they go ahead and start expanding underneath the ground, one thing they're doing, they're either going down or they're coming up. Okay, so they can go down and they can come up. It all depends on your soil and how loose your soil is. All right. And so even I believe it was last year when I did a sweet potato harvest, I had someone that were to say, hey, go ahead and cut your slips, cut your runners, because we had, they was just all over the place. But one of the things you want to keep in mind with these potatoes here, guys, is you don't really necessarily want to cut your runners like that. And the reason why is because for every runner that take off and run somewhere, what it is doing, it is gathering nutrients for the root of your sweet potatoes. So if you were to cut that runner, you're cutting off nutrients that would be going to your roots. So if they're not in your way, I say, hey, leave them and let them be. Okay? All right. So we're just moving some more soil here. And as y'all can see, the ones that have been planted for about 3 weeks ago, they are already running, and they're doing their thing. Okay. And also what I'm going to do inside of this walk space right here, I'm going to also come in with a whole bunch of mulch and stack it on up. That way I can plant inside of this walkway as well, because we don't want to lose no space here in the garden, guys. And with planting them this way right here, I am actually saving a whole lot more space, because you think about, for every walkway that I had last year, I am end up losing at least about 2 foot of space in the garden where I could have simply put some potatoes. Okay. But it was one of those things there. I said, you know what? I have to come on in and do this video, because I told you all I was going to take you all along with me when I get ready to plant these potatoes here. All right. And also, one of the things, really and truly, sweet potatoes really don't need a whole lot of nutrients to grow. Because the reason why I said that, I have even planted sweet potatoes in wood chips, and they turn out really well. There was not no great big sweet potatoes, but there was a size where you could have take them and put them on the table. Okay. Grab a few more. And I'm telling you, these here are some beautiful sweet potato slips. Now, I have took you all along on that process with starting sweet potato slips. I have took you on the process with starting them in water. I kind of show you all the method of how doing them inside of the soil. Okay, so hey, next year, just make sure you guys get your sweet potato slips ready to plant out. And what I'm going to also do, I'm going to still come on in and just add a little bit more mulch in between, because I want a real nice layer of mulch, at least about 8 inches to a foot layer of mulch, because it is going to break down as time goes on. Okay. And remember, the spacing on these potatoes here is right at about a foot. Putting them right at a foot. Real nice root system. And what I'm doing here is just pretty much getting these slips down as deep as I can, because also the deeper down you get, you have your slips, the more roots will develop on your slips. And also you want to keep in mind that for every time that these potatoes put out roots, okay, that is where your tuber will be coming from. Those roots right there, guys. So the more roots you have on your potatoes is the more tuber you will get. Now, you know, the potato already done figured out which one is going to put energy in to bring forth the food. So, hey, you know, but we're going to get them on in, all right? So just keep that in mind. And that's why I am actually planting them as deep as I am, all right? Oh, wow, look at that slip. It's already taken off. All right, guys, and so we are getting down to the wire. This is pretty much all the rest of the slip. I do have a few more slips that I have in the container. They're not super big or long like these, but they're still okay to plant out in the garden. All right, so don't let, because the size of your slip and because they're not big, you don't put them in the ground. Once they get the root and they start running, they're going to get big anyway. All right. So as y'all see, as I plant a slip, I pretty much just go ahead and fill it back on around with the mulch, okay, or with the straw rather. And once I fill it back around with the mulch, I want to leave just a little bit of leaf, whether it may be 2, you know, say about 3 or so leaves. I leave it on now to where that it can gather some photosynthesis, okay, because it needs the sun. That is what let these things here grow, guys. And that is the reason why I don't come out too early in the springtime and plant them, because these plants, they love the heat. Okay, now if you do put them in the ground that early, what can happen, they can go ahead and maybe say develop a little bit of root within that time if you plant them out early. But I like to wait till the weather get just right, and I know they're going to do what they need to do, and that is grow. All right, so let's go ahead and get this last one here in the ground. All right. Okay, so far so good. Now I am still left with a few space back here. Now if I have more slips that were to pop up, I'll just come on out and throw them on inside of here. It won't hurt anything, okay? Or even simply what I can do, and I may just do that later on. I may come on in here and cut some of these slips, just cut the tip of some of these slips that has been running, and I'll show you. Okay, and so right here, if you notice, this particular one right here, it has took off. It's taken off. We have runners going all different directions. So what I can do, because I may not have enough slip to fill in this area right here, I can come on in and cut this right about here. Okay, I could cut that and I could go ahead and plant them in. And this right here will give me more sweet potatoes, guys. Okay, so that is also one of the things that you can keep in mind. If I was in a tropical area and I want sweet potatoes all year long, okay, when this patch right here is finished, I harvest out everything and I may have some slips left over. I can come on in and cut that, have another bed worked up somewhere, and just go ahead and replant those slips in that bed, and I will constantly keep getting sweet potatoes. Okay, now what I will be doing, because as you notice, this one was running on out in the walkway. um for as much as I can come down here and train them to run back on inside of that bed, that is what I will do. I mean, I know later on down they will eventually take over the bed. Okay, but I will try and my best to train them as possible. Now if they run on out here and run over to the fence, guess what, that would be a great treat for the goats. Okay, but I'm not going to come on in and cut them. Simple reason why, I mean, unless they're entering my walking space, I may just walk on them. It won't hurt anything. But the more runners you have, the more those roots are able to feed. Keep that in mind. Okay, so guys, that is pretty much it. It was one of those things where that I had to make sure that I kept my promise. Keep my promise, because I said I wanted to show you guys, and I was able to do just that. But nonetheless, I just want to say thanks to each and every one of you all out there for stopping by the Humble Servant Homestead. And as always, peace and blessings to each and every one of you all out there. I pray that this was helpful to you guys. If you have not planted your sweet potato slips yet, go ahead and do so. Okay, and I just want to say thanks to each and every one of you all out there for stopping by the Humble Servant Homestead. And as always, peace and blessings. Remember, keep a smile on your face. You be happy, you be cheerful, and have a blessed day. Get on outside and get in the dirt.